Justice for Nick, okay? Nick did not deserve that. He was the victim all along. That receptionist, you know what? Actually, let me rewind. Let's rewind. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Purposefully Pri. I am Pri, and this is where I come to be me on purpose. Today, I want to talk about clickbait. Now, it's been on Netflix for quite some time, so spoiler alert, but if you've clicked on this video, then chances are you've already seen it. If you have not, I suggest head on over to Netflix and watch it and then come back to my video because I'm about to be talking about everything that happened. Now, as I said, Nick was the victim the whole time. That receptionist, but I'm gonna tell y'all not gonna believe me, but I was suspicious of the receptionist probably around episode, I don't know, 6, 7, whenever they had that memorial in the complex and the camera kept showing her, kept popping up on her. She kept being, you know, in the background, all in the mix. I was like, something up with that receptionist. Let's go back to the beginning. For this review, y'all know I got my notes. I'm going to be talking about the storylines I liked. I'm going to be talking about my favorite characters, my least favorite characters, and I'm going to be talking about my suspicions and my theories. Now, first off, my theories. So immediately into the first episode, I was like, okay, what could this show be about? Now, the name is Clickbait. So right off the bat, I was thinking, you know, within that first episode, maybe this was an internet prank gone wrong. Maybe Nick was a part of it. Maybe he wasn't a part of it. Maybe this was some kid on YouTube trying to blow up his YouTube, trying to get views. So he did a kidnapping prank. Maybe they got too deep and Nick attacked them and then he had to kill Nick. Maybe. Of course, I was all the way wrong. But that was just like my first theory. Just off the name Clickbait. And then secondly, from that first episode, I said right off the bat, the wife knows something. The spouse always knows more than what they are letting on. Always. Now, I wasn't surprised that she had an affair. I wasn't surprised by any of that because anytime a spouse is murdered, the other spouse always knows more. So right off the bat within that first episode, I was already suspicious of the wife. Those are just like my first two, like right off the bat instincts within the first episode. Later on, it changed basically after every episode, which y'all know, every episode they had you kind of thinking that it was one thing, but then really it was another. So let's go on to my favorite characters. My favorite character was the detective. I felt like he was the most fleshed out character. We saw that he had ambitions of wanting to go up the ranks at his job. He had even basically sacrificed his family. You can see that I guess him and his wife was estranged and they were like sharing custody of his son. That was really sad to see. Basically, he kind of gave me that maybe he was an immigrant, came to America to kind of make a name for himself, to be successful. And so that's kind of where we saw his ambition and where his drive came from. I felt like he did genuinely care about the case. But let me ask you guys, do you all think he genuinely cared about the case, or do you think it was more so him trying to get recognition from his boss so that he could become this big time detective? I don't know. I'm kind of torn. It could be either one. Personally, I felt like he cared about the case. I did. And then ultimately, he was the hero of the story. He found the body. He was the hero. His friend, the young guy, he deserves an honorable mention because he was very instrumental in helping Pia. He first showed her the video, and then he also told her about the app that which ultimately helps find the body. So Pia's friend deserves an honorable mention. And then let's go to least favorite. I know all of y'all want me to say that Pia was the least favorite character of mine. Pia got a lot of flack online. I think it was the bob. It was so blunt. The bangs and just the cut, it was just like so blunt. I think that's what it was with the bob. But no, Pia was not my least favorite character. I feel like Pia was a driving force throughout the show. She was the reason why her brother was found. I mean, she was on it. I feel like if I ever go missing, I need somebody in my life like Pia. Like somebody that is going to fight for me. And that's what she did. When everybody else gave up, when the wife gave up, when, you know, they were slandering his name, Pia was the reason why he was found. So even though she was annoying, even though she did have the blunt bangs and the blunt bob, Pia was the reason why he was found. So for that, I gotta give it to Pia. She was not my least favorite character. She was really the driving force. I put down most delusional was the mistress. Now, this show, they really had us thinking that she had actually met him in person. Really? This whole time, this girl was being catfished. Girl, come on now. The whole time you hadn't even met him, and then you got the nerve to be all upset. You want to burn this picture and stuff. You don't even know who you was talking to. You don't know who you was in love with. Come on now, girl, you was straight. But I felt bad for her, even though she was delusional, because she was a casualty of a catfish. We've all seen the show Catfish, and we know how it goes. She was a casualty of a catfish. I put the reporter was absolutely one of my least favorite characters. He was just a disgusting human being. You broke into someone's house. You went through their things. Like, that is disgusting. But I do feel like the reporter had ambitions. The reporter and the detective were two sides of the same coin. They just went about it differently. They had a different approach. The detective was the good side. The reporter was the bad side. Sorry, but it's true. Let's see. The brother, I felt very sorry for the brother. Let's talk about the brother for a second. How far would you go to avenge a loved one? Now, his sister, she died tragically by suicide. I feel so bad for her. I mean, and I felt bad for him because we saw, like, they were like this, you know. That was his sister. So I feel like his motives were right, but the way he went about it was wrong. Taking the law into your own hands is never the answer. Seeking revenge is never the answer. That is my humble opinion, because even though you may have the right reason, even though you are hurting down to your core. Once you get revenge, you know, once he kidnapped Nick, even though he did let him go, he did not kill him. He kidnapped him only to, you know, discover that Nick didn't do it. But anyway, when you get revenge for someone who hurt you, you're still hurting. The brother was still grieving his sister even after getting revenge. Revenge never makes you feel better. You just have to go through the grief. You have to go through the pain. you have to heal from it. Like the brother got revenge, and in the end he had to deal with the grief of losing his sister and also dealing with the consequences of his actions. I mean, and that's why I'm saying revenge is never the answer, because it's not going to heal the pain. It's not going to heal the grief. It's not going to heal the sorrow. In the end, you're actually adding on to that by now having to sit in jail, having to deal with the consequences of your actions. And so I'm not trying to go deep here. I'm not trying to get preachy, but in the end, it really like helps me see that if you're hurting, if you're going through, if someone did something to you, trying to get revenge and trying to hurt that person in return, it's not going to work. It's not going to help you feel better. The only thing that will help you feel better is healing. In whichever way you need to heal, whichever way you need to find help on healing, you know, that's your process and how you want to do it. But trying to get revenge is never the answer. Let's go on to a lighter note. That got a little heavy. That episode was heavy though. My number one least favorite character was the wife. The wife was so cold. I was like, girl, like she just gave up on him. I understand she thought that he cheated. She thought that he was a serial cheater that was dating all of these women online, but she was just so cold. I felt like she gave up on him before anyone. She was not relatable. Like I did not like her character at all. I did not feel sorry for her. I felt like Pia was going more hardcore trying to find out the truth than she was. That was me personally. My least favorite character was the wife. Fast forward on to episode 5. By then, I had a new theory. I was thinking it was the best friend. I was thinking Matt, which I'm sure you guys thought the same thing. Matt was using Nick's pictures to catfish these women online. That was my new theory. But then also, I was thinking maybe it was a coworker who found out that Nick was having an inappropriate relationship with one of the girls, and the coworker maybe confronted Nick. They kind of had a heated exchange, and then the coworker kidnapped Nick, did the video, and then ultimately killed him. That was my new theory. By episode 7, by episode 7, they tried to make us think that Matt was the catfish using Nick's photos. In the end, we see that it was the receptionist. Now, at the beginning of the video, I said that I was suspicious of the receptionist. That is because every time Pia went to the complex, the receptionist was like, oh, you know, what are you doing? Like the receptionist is right there trying to see what was Pia doing. When they were at the memorial, they kept kind of showing the receptionist, like the receptionist was right there when the wife had her meltdown. She gave the wife tissue. I was just like, they kind of put the camera on the receptionist a little bit too much for my liking. And we all know that the killer is always in the mix, in the background, but in the mix. They're always in the background watching all of the craziness unfold, never being out in the forefront, but they're always there. And I feel like that was her. I'm gonna let y'all in on a little tea. Now, I have worked as a receptionist for a few years. I worked as a receptionist for some years, and when we would have new hires, I would set up their computers. The IT department would give me their password, and I would give the employee their password. So that scenario with her knowing Nick's password is very, very realistic and can very easily happen. As I said, you know, like if I had remembered those passwords, I would know people's passwords. That's just kind of how things are ran in certain offices. Sometimes the receptionists, they know people's information. Another thing, when I was a receptionist, You have the scene where Nick told her about his affair. When I was a receptionist, people do that. People confided in me a lot. My desk was like right there, like when you came off the elevator. You know, when people would be frustrated, tired, just had an argument, whatever. When they got off the elevator, I was right there. Or when they first walked in the building, I was right there, and people would unload on me. And so I know a lot of people tea. A lot of people tea at the office. So that is very realistic, and can happen. Trust me, everything that happened, it can happen. Now, the husband, that was a curveball that I did not see coming. The husband been in on it and killing and trying to protect the wife. Now that, when they showed that it was the husband that knocked Nick upside his head, I was like, I actually was shocked that Nick went to her house to confront her. But he had to get to the house some type of way, for the story to unfold the way it did. But yeah, that was the curveball. Overall, I give this show a 5 out of 5 stars, or a 10 out of 10. This show was so good, y'all. I mean, I binged it in a day, probably like the most of y'all. It was so good. All of the twists and turns and how they unfolded, how they gave you breadcrumbs until the last episode. It was just so good. I want to say this before in this video. The moral of this story out of all of these episodes is this: do not give out your password. And if it was a case like I said with me, where the receptionist gives you the password, change it. Don't give nobody a password. And if you are dating someone online, FaceTime them. Don't be catfished. We've seen the show. Do not be a catfish. Actually, let's talk about catfish. Let's rewind. I was not surprised to know that this woman was catfishing. Catfish actually used to be my favorite show. So I've basically seen all the episodes. And on the show, sometimes it was an older lady or an older person being a catfish because their life has gotten boring. Her life was boring. Her husband wasn't paying her no attention. She saw Nick. She saw that he was likable. He was handsome. People wanted him. People wanted to be him. She wanted to be him because she wanted that attention. Sending those messages to those women gave her a rush, made her feel like somebody, made her feel important. And that's why people catfish. She wasn't comfortable being who she was. She was bored with her life. Those messages, messaging those women, being Nick, gave her a thrill. With all of that being said, it is still wrong. Please, people, do not be out here catfishing people. Be yourself. There is someone who will like you, who will love you for being you. And I know I was kind of preachy earlier. I'm getting a little preachy now. So let me stop. As I said, the moral of this whole thing is to not give out your password. And if somebody gave you a password, change it. Change it. And every so often, you need to switch up your password a little bit. Don't just have the same password for everything. Don't just keep the same password for your phone, for all your emails. No. Switch up that password a little bit, just so people won't be able to steal your life. I don't want y'all being out here like Nick. Anyway, I'm on a tangent. So, as always, if you like this video, if you like my reviews, please like, comment, share. I will see you guys later. Bye.